Before I turn it over to Eli Savit, and that's Chief Prosecutor Eli Savit, I want to explain how we came to this meeting before we pass the microphone around to do a quick sharing of our stories. Our corporate chapter, Dunya, who is number 2 in the chain of command at our corporate chapter, called me and said that we know that your chapter is always interested in increasing its reach and getting to a broader audience. And I got to tell you that when we had a meeting, a forum on expungement, we filled the basement of the church. And so you might want to do something on expungement. So I called 1-800-Eli Savit. And I said, hey, that's not a real number. I said, are you interested in educating our community on expungement? And Eli jumped at the opportunity. He informed me that the laws have changed lately. They're evolving just like anything else. And that this is worth doing. In fact, I was just talking with Eli that this is probably a meeting that we should be doing once a year. That's how prevalent this is and how important it is to people in recovery. So Eli and I are going to talk, and you can probably see Chief Prosecutor here educating on this topic on a yearly basis. And I don't want anybody to think I'm not cordial or following protocol, but he told me it's okay to call him Eli. And he's a great guy. So with that, one of the things we do before we roll into the subject, and by the way, we have people participating on Zoom, and I want for those of you who registered to participate on Zoom that if you have questions, put them in the chat feature, and then Brandon, you can let us know if there are any questions that I will let you know. Okay, it's right up there. So if you have questions after hearing Eli present, put it in the chat feature. If you have questions during the presentation, or if questions come up, just hold on until Eli gets done. Know that if you are here, we have 2 people from Eli's office back there, they're waving back there, that will be doing spot checks. So you can literally, if you're wondering, do I qualify? Not everybody does, okay? But if you're wondering, do I qualify to have my record expunged? You just go back there, they're gonna check, and you'll be off to the races. If you need to be connected with anyone from Eli's office, we can help make that connection after the meeting's over. You just reach out to us on our website. So with that, and when I say share your story, it's not War and Peace story, it's real quick story, okay? And it's not too dissimilar from what happens at an Al-Anon meeting or an AA meeting, where you just, and I'll start things off, and if you're not comfortable, you don't share your story, okay? It's that simple. But when we poll, we have, and this is a good segue to the survey, Brandon, if you could at some point put that in the chat feature. For those of you who are online and Zooming in or on Facebook, I'll make sure as well that if you're not registered to participate via Zoom, that you get access to this survey, because we use that to pick forum topics to follow. Did we hit the mark? What'd you think of Eli? The whole thing. And we really take that to heart and try to zero in on topics that matter to our community. So please take the time to fill that out. And so with that, I'll start off. And again, if you're not comfortable, you don't have to take this microphone. I did want to say one thing, and I'm looking at you, and I'm not going to say who you are, but you unfailingly, when you talk about being of service, that's you. Thank you. Okay. So my name's Mario. I co-founded this chapter. My son died over 5 years ago. And it's like it was yesterday. And he died of a heroin overdose. He was scripted opioids like you read in the newspaper. He became addicted. He transitioned to heroin. He was in recovery for a while, and he died about 15 months later. He crossed paths with people who didn't have his best interests at heart. So the advice I would give to people in recovery is hang out with people who have your best interests at heart. If you're trying to quit smoking, someone offers you a cigarette, it's probably not someone who has your best interests at heart. So that's who I am. That's my story. And whoever wants the mic next can take it and just briefly share a little bit about themselves. And if there's whoever wants to do that, raise your hand and I'll bring the microphone to you. Okay, we got a shy crowd. Oh, here we go.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jillian. I celebrated 6 years of recovery from heroin in January of this year. Thank you. I have also recently joined the board of directors for the Oakland County chapter of FAN, and I've previously ran a wholesale vegan and gluten-free baking business in Ferndale.
Thank you. Who else? Did you come to our first meeting 5 year? I remember you.
It's a face that only a mama could love. I'm Mark. I'm a recovering alcoholic. And yes, I was here for the first one. I was fascinated with what was going on. It sounded like good energy to me. And I've just kind of, when I can, try to make it to one of these. I work with quite a few others, and I've been active in the jail meetings and the prison meetings of the correctional aspect of. So I was kind of like curious. It's like, wow, okay, what kind of information can I pick up to hand off to others? And so, yeah, keep doing the good work, bud.
I'm Jeff. I'm an alcoholic and addict. I had a year in November. I've had a long bout with alcohol and cocaine. Finally reached felony status about 6 years ago for drunk driving, and I'm very grateful to be here. Thanks.
Anyone else?
My name's Carrie, and I'm a person in long-term recovery. And I work for Dawn Farm, a local treatment center. I coordinate the recovery support specialist team here with my husband. And we are huge supporters, not only being a person in recovery, but also a person who engaged in a lot of criminal activity as a person who had to support my habit. Ran into a lot of obstacles as a result of that, and also felt that that was my face and who I was for a long, long time, even still sometimes. So I feel it's really important for myself and for our community to be here to see that, you know, the things that we've done in active addiction, and to pass that message along that we are more than what we've done. And, you know, to carry on for people like your son, Mario. And Mario, you've done a phenomenal amount of stuff for me and people that I love. And so That's why we're here tonight.
So, anyone else back there? And I do want to say, we have, a lot of times, hey there, I know you. Thank you for coming. We're sharing our stories. Are you going to share your story? What? Okay. Hey, well, not a story, your story. So a lot of times law enforcement gets a bad rap. Okay. Sometimes deservedly so. Most of the time, not so. And we have people from law enforcement here who support us like you would not believe. Okay. And you want to know why? Because they know people in recovery. They have family and friends who are recovering from this disease. That's why they're here. So I just wanted to point that out. So back there.
Hey, everybody, I'm Thomas. I'm a drug addict and alcoholic. And when she mentioned the farm, I went through the farm in 1994. I have 29 years sober and I'm a drug addict. Morphine was my drug of choice and heroin, but like anything, drugs and crime go hand in hand. So unfortunately, we have to do what we have to do to maintain our addiction. And that constitutes stealing, unfortunately. So I was curious to check this out because I tried to get a job at U of M probably 8 years ago, and they looked at my record. They had to pull it up from Michigan State Police. And the lady says, "Come here for a second." She's like, "Do we really want this guy working at U of M?" And I'm like, at that time I had 18 years sober. And thank God the lady who was the chief, administrator, she went through the farm and she's like, "Yeah, I think we should give this guy a chance because he, that's not who he is today." So I work at U of M part-time and I own a business. And so if it wasn't for, AA, I'd be dead by now. So thanks.
How did you hear about us? How did you hear about this?
Okay. So you heard through the community. So you are the reason this meeting's happening. You are the reason that we do what we do. And that stigma that you experienced, that's real. It makes you shrivel up when you hear people talking about you like that. Yeah, yeah. So we're here to change that to the extent that that's possible. Okay. Anybody else? I'll get to you. Okay.
Hi, my name's Cecil, and I'm 383 months without a drink today. And thank you. I've helped a lot of people come into the fellowship and help them reestablish themselves with their new ID. And unfortunately, you can't go back and erase some things. It follows you the rest of your life. And I've been not able to get some jobs as a result of my record. And even though I may not be able to clear everything up, I cannot tell people to do things I'm not willing to do myself. So coming here and check in the wreckage of my past and seeing if I can straighten something out or what I need to do is just part of it. And I'm hoping that everybody here can spread the word that the second chance can be a little bit easier these days. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Okay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Carolyn, and I am definitely qualified to be here. And my choice of drug was crack cocaine. You're looking at a woman that has 10 felonies and 19 misdemeanors. I was looking at 25 years a couple months ago, but the judge said, Michael Warrant through Oakland County, he said, because of the windfall, I can only give you 14 days. And he took off my felony probation. As of today, I am totally free from the system, except I still have that on my record. I've been fighting cocaine for over 30 years, and I'm out God willing, I'll be 6 months tomorrow.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Right back here.
Hey, my name's Daniel, alcoholic addict. I'll be having 18 months here next month, and thank you. For me, that was unheard of because I was one of those people that did not like the police. Probably ever since I was 18 till just this last year and a half. You know, they make a joke around AA, you know, I'm allergic to alcohol. When I drink, I break out in handcuffs. Well, I feel like that was made up about me, you know, because like it was literally every time I relapsed, I would be incarcerated or blacked out and not remembering what I did. But, you know, today I know that those police officers were just trying to keep the streets safe, you know, from me. And now I work for a treatment center. I guess you can say I do. But I'm just like one of the guys. I'm just in the community trying to stay sober too, you know. And, you know, Mario helps me out when I first got out of the farm. He came and gave me a couple bus passes for free. And I've held a job the longest I've ever held a job before in my entire life because of that bus pass. So that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you for sharing that. We have anybody else? Okay.
Hi, I'm Dr. Adam Joy. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I'm also a person in long-term recovery. For a long time in the midst of my addiction, I was on a felony a day program. I only got convicted of 2 of them, luckily. But I'm also on the board of the Washtenaw chapter of FAN. So I'm here to support FAN and also learn about the resources we have available. Recovery has given me so much. So I want to help connect the community to what we can offer them, because I don't believe we should be defined by our past when we've worked to make a better future. So thank you, Mario.
So, I don't know if everybody heard that. Licensed clinical psychologist. Stigma. This affects everybody. Everybody. Okay. We got anybody else? All right. Keep the questions coming as Eli presents. And thank you for sharing your stories. And I'm going to turn it over to Eli Savit.
All right, I got this thing. This is working, right? All right. Well, thank you, Mario. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. It's really an honor to be here with all you folks. And you know, I'm going to give a brief overview of Michigan's expungement laws. Hopefully, take some questions and answers. And I do want to reemphasize we're doing the instant eligibility checks back there with Liz and Natalie. So please, after this is over, we can actually tell you right now what's on your record. And for a lot of folks, what we've been finding is since automatic expungement went into effect, folks may think they have a criminal record and it's not there anymore, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit more detail. But first, I want to talk just to give an overview about how we got here. Michigan has had laws on the books allowing people to expunge their old criminal records actually since the 1960s. But they were very, very stingy laws, right? They didn't allow a lot of convictions to be wiped clean. The process was really difficult. And this was really holding a lot of people back. So a few years ago, in 2018, there was real movement in the Michigan legislature towards providing a clean slate. And I want to emphasize something. This wasn't a Democratic or Republican issue. This was a bipartisan package of bills that had folks from conservative areas on the west side of Michigan up to the Upper Peninsula, and of course, support from very progressive areas like the ones that we're standing in. Because what a lot of people know is exactly what the doctor said just before I stood up here, that people shouldn't be defined by the worst thing they've done, and that folks that have done everything right deserve an opportunity for a clean slate. We've been doing expungement work since I got into office in 2021. And we've been helping people with expungement. I'll talk a little bit more about how we do that. But, the number one reason that people seek to expunge old criminal records is because they want a job, or because they want a different job, a better paying job. They want to provide for their families. A lot of folks want expungement because they want to get into housing, and the housing does a criminal background check, and they're not able to get an apartment or potentially upgrade their apartment, provide for their family with that old criminal record. But I'll tell you too, the number of stories that we've seen for folks that are seeking expungement are as diverse as the people that are seeking them, because every single story is different. We've had folks that have come and sought expungement, and the reason they want an expungement, it's not because they got a job, they got a good job, not because they need housing, they've got housing, but because now they got kids, right? And they want to get more involved in their kids' lives, run for the PTA, chaperone the field trips, but they don't want other parents to be doing those background checks and see that they've got that record and embarrass their children. Just think about that. These are folks who just want to be involved in their kids' lives. We've had folks that are nearing the end of their life, and they want to go to God with a clean criminal record. It's not something they're looking for on this earth anymore, but they just want to go with that clean record and that clean slate. So this is powerful stuff, and I really want to, give a lot of credit to our legislature, to our governor, to the folks in the alliance of bipartisan folks that put these laws into effect, because Michigan now has one of the best, if not the best, set of expungement laws in the nation. And I think that's a testament to the community and the support that we want to provide folks here in the state. So that is how we got here. Okay, so that's the background. So what does expungement mean exactly? Well, I'm talking about state level expungement here. And so I'm only talking about violations of criminal laws in the state of Michigan. So if you got a conviction from Ohio, if you've got a federal conviction, right, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Michigan state laws. But what expungement does fundamentally is it wipes your record clear for all but a few very limited purposes. And it means that it is not publicly accessible anymore. If an employer is doing a background check on you, they cannot see that old record. If a landlord is doing a background check on you, they cannot see that record. And if you are asked on a form, have you been convicted of a crime, right? On an employment application form, on a housing application form, you don't have to say yes anymore. Now, it doesn't entirely make it invisible. Police can still see it. Judges can still see it if you wind up back in court. Prosecutors can see it. The governor can see it if you're seeking a pardon for something and she wants to see your own record. But those are very limited uses for this. So it remains visible to law enforcement. But for all public intents and purposes, if you get an expungement, your record is clear. So what does expungement look like? Well, there's really two types of expungement. And the first I'm going to talk about is automatic expungement, right? And this just went into effect in April of this year. And just to demonstrate how many folks have a past and how many folks deserve that clean slate into the future, on day one that automatic expungement went into effect in the state of Michigan, 1 million plus criminal records were cleared. That's one criminal record for every 10 people we have in the state gone, right? 400,000 people got an entirely clean slate. They had maybe multiple convictions wiped clean, had a record on April 10th, April 11th when this law went into effect, did not have a record anymore. 400,000 people, totally clean slate. And perhaps that applies to folks in this room, which is why, again, really encourage folks to stop by the table afterwards because we can check. We can see that for free. So what does automatic expungement cover? And by the way, I'm just going to preface this by saying a lot of this is really complex and there's a lot of different legal intricacies. So bear with me here. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just the guy conveying what the legislature put into effect. But automatic expungement for misdemeanors, what happens is 7 years after the imposition of your sentence, that record, with some exceptions, and I'll get into the exceptions in a second, is going to be automatically expunged. For felonies, it's 10 years after the date of your sentence, automatically expunged, or if you were sentenced to prison, 10 years after the date on which you were released from Michigan Department of Corrections custody. So it says whichever comes later, but I don't know why it says that, because you can't be sent to prison before being sentenced. So it's the date you were released from prison. So 10 years for felonies. Under the law, up to 2 felonies can be automatically expunged, wiped clean. Up to 4 misdemeanors that are punishable by 93 days or more in jail, right? So you can get up to 4 of those automatically expunged. And if it's sort of a non-serious misdemeanor, unlimited misdemeanors after 7 years, defined as less than 93 days, punishable by less than 93 days, get off your record, are totally wiped clean. Now, there's some exceptions, right? There's some things that are just not automatically expunged. And those include assaultive crimes. Those are not automatically expunged. Drunk driving, not automatically expunged. Crimes of dishonesty, which, fraud, stuff like that, not automatically expunged. And any felony that's punishable, the max sentence, punishable by more than 10 years in prison are not going to be automatically expunged. So that's automatic expungement. That's great. Like I said, 1 million criminal records just on day one came off the books as a result of automatic expungement. But what if your criminal record includes one of those things that I mentioned, right? That's not eligible for automatic expungement. Or what if you've got sort of too many to qualify for automatic expungement, or you haven't reached the 7 or 10 year waiting period yet? Well, that's where expungement by application comes in, because even if you're not eligible or not yet eligible for automatic expungement, you can be eligible to apply to have your record expunged, your record wiped clean. Now, there's waiting periods for this too. Okay, so I'll run through these again. I know I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you, but for non-serious misdemeanors, 3 years from the last date that you were under court supervision, right? So probation, parole, what have you. 3 years you can apply to get those non-serious misdemeanors off. For serious misdemeanors, it's 5 years. That includes, by the way, 1 drunk driving charge. You can now expunge a first-time OWI offense. The waiting period there is 5 years. And if you have 1 felony that you're applying to get taken off your record, that's a 5-year waiting period too. If you've got more than 1 felony, then it's going to be a 7-year waiting period. And the limit is you can expunge under the application up to 3 felonies, so more than under automatic. So you can expunge up to 3. And unlimited numbers of misdemeanors with, I will say, there's still some exceptions, right? The exceptions are, as I mentioned, you can only expunge 1 drunk driving offense. You cannot expunge either automatic or by application any capital offense, which means any crime that is punishable by up to life in prison. Most criminal sexual conduct offenses do not qualify for expungement under either. And then there's some child abuse cases that don't qualify either, and a felony domestic violence, if you had a previous conviction for misdemeanor domestic violence, is not eligible for expungement by application. So those are the exceptions. But again, and I know I threw a lot at you guys, and that's again why I really encourage folks to get it checked out, because we can see exactly how these laws might apply to you. So let's say you're interested in applying for expungement, right? Your record's not wiped clean yet, but you want to apply for expungement. What's the process look like? Well, there's a form. There's a standard form that you fill out to apply for expungement. Got to list your convictions, the date of your convictions, and the like, right? Then you've got to go get copies of your certified court records from the court that convicted you, right? So get those. You got to get fingerprinted, and then you got to send that stuff to the Attorney General of the state of Michigan, to the prosecuting attorney that convicted you, right? So if that's in Washtenaw County, that'd be my office. You got to send it to the Michigan State Police, and you got to send it to the court that your conviction came out of. And once Michigan State Police has run that check, once the Attorney General and the prosecuting attorney have had the opportunity to respond to expungement, you'll be set for a hearing in front of the judge. And if all goes well at the end of that hearing, and I'll say most judges grant expungements if they're doing a hearing, right? If all goes well, you'll walk out of there with a clean criminal record. Now, for those of you in Washtenaw County or who have Washtenaw County convictions, I know this sort of seems like a lot. It seems like a process, and I'll be honest, it is. The good news is we've got a coalition of partners that are working together that can provide folks access to expungement and walk them through the process free of charge. So it starts by visiting that table over there, right? Or you can email our office. I'll give you the email address later, and we can run your background check, tell you what's on there. You can see if you're eligible or not. Our sheriff's office, Derek Jackson from the sheriff's office is back here, is doing fingerprinting for expungement free of charge. We've got Michigan Works as a partner on this. And there's a $50 fee that we've been able to get covered to the Michigan State Police. Our office actually will go and get those certified copies of court records, which generally cost some money. We'll get those for you for free, and we'll give them to our partners at Legal Services of South Central Michigan and the Michigan Advocacy Program, which can represent folks in court and actually serve as your lawyers and help them with expungements. Now, that's for Washtenaw convictions, right? So I know some folks may have convictions from outside of Washtenaw. The good news is Legal Services have offices across the state. Michigan Works, which has been working on this, has offices across the state. So we can provide information about how to reach out to them too. But, our jurisdiction ends in Washtenaw County. So what we've got in terms of being able to do something is only for Washtenaw County convictions directly. I'm just going to close by saying this. I'm a prosecutor, right? Like, why am I up here talking about expungement? Traditionally, the role of prosecutors is to put the convictions on your record, right? So why are we up here, and why do we have this coalition of partners, which includes law enforcement, includes legal services, includes our workforce development agencies, and the prosecutor's office here in Washtenaw County? Why are we working so hard on this to get folks access to expungement for free? And I'll tell you why. First of all, I believe, and I know our partners here in Washtenaw County believe, that ultimately, at the end of the day, we represent the people, right? And the people include folks with a past. And when I talked about that old, those million-old criminal records coming off folks' records on day one of automatic expungement, demonstrates there's a lot of folks out there in our community that are still being held back because of old criminal records. And I believe in second chances. I believe in a path forward, right? I believe that nobody should be defined by the worst thing they did or by the worst day of their lives. But I also know this: expungements give people an opportunity to thrive. There was an exhaustive academic study of Michigan expungements. And what it found is that people who got an expungement earned on average 22% more just in the year following their expungement. So think about a 22% pay bump, right? That's pretty substantial to a lot of people. That's just in the year following expungement. It gives people a path forward for educational opportunities, for housing opportunities, to be the involved parent, like I mentioned earlier, in their kids' lives. And so the effects are really intergenerational. So yeah, we want to help people get those old records expunged, because if you have done everything right, we talked about these waiting periods. If you've done everything that the justice system has asked of you, done that hard work, are trying to move forward, why on earth should we not be trying to help you get that clean slate, trying to help you get that better job, trying to help you get that housing, right? To help you be there for your family. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. Really encourage folks to spread the word about this, especially honestly about automatic expungement, because we've had several of these events since automatic expungement went into effect. And we've been able to deliver really good news to people when we run that instant background check and say, I know you said you had a criminal conviction, but guess what? It's not on there anymore. And people will say, no, that's not true. I remember it. And I would say, well, how long ago was it? And they say, well, it was 12 years ago. And I say, I think that's gone. I think that's automatically expunged. And so just getting the word out about that and encouraging people to check into this, that can be life-saving or life-changing for people, right? Because that means they don't have to say that they were convicted of a crime anymore on that application. So please spread the word. Please visit our table. And our amazing Chief Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Victoria just walked in. So I gave Liz and Natalie a shout out earlier. Victoria's back there helping out with the table too. And with that, I am more than happy to answer any questions that folks might have, with the one caveat, like if you've got like a very specific question about your particular case, probably better to just go over to the table and we can look into what's actually there and what's not. But I'm happy to answer any questions in general. Yeah.
Let me get you the microphone.
Oh yeah.
And I'll hand the microphone over to you. But the message here too, Eli, is that it's automatically expunged. But if it isn't, the message I'm hearing is the trophy's worth the chase.
Yep.
You said it's hard work, it's somewhat involved, but you've got the resources, at least in this county, to help. And you also said that statewide there are resources to help as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
Thanks. I didn't think I need this microphone. My name is Donna Joseph. You might remember me because I helped work on your campaign.
Thank you.
And I'm part of Leadership Ann Arbor that's trying to bring the Kalamazoo Challenge here. I had a quick question for you. I did all my expungement paperwork back in April and everything's done. I'm just waiting for a court date. I've been calling your office for almost a month now and nobody's gotten back to me. Can you help me with that?
Yeah. So, and unfortunately, I will say that for application expungements, and this is true statewide, the wait on average between getting all your applications in and getting an actual hearing date, on average right now, it's about 8 months. And that's, it's ultimately up to the court when they hear back from Michigan State Police, when they hear back from the Attorney General's office, when they hear back from our office to set the date on the calendar. It's backlogged, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There's really high demand for expungement right now. I wish that it was going faster. I know a lot of folks, the courts, the Attorney General, we all wish it was going faster, but that's just the truth of the matter right now. So I'm sorry you've been waiting, but honestly, from April to now is pretty, I'd be surprised if there was a court date, just given the statewide backup. So I apologize for that. Like I said, I really wish it was going faster, but that's sort of where things.
But the good news is you will be in touch with her at some point.
Yeah, the court and the court. Yeah. Once you've got all the paperwork and you've submitted to Michigan State Police, AG, everything submitted. Okay. Okay, so let's talk individually afterwards. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Marie. I'm a peer recovery coach. So I work with a lot of people with substance use disorders.
who do have questions about their record. And some of the people that we are seeing are just coming out of jail or just coming out of prison. So I would like to let them know about all of this information. Is there somewhere that I could is it written that I can print it out and
Yeah.
I don't.
So we've got stuff back there at the table with a QR code that you can scan, and we've got sort of an explainer of the expungement laws on our website. The Attorney General has them on her website. So yeah, and we've got it in a variety of different languages
We've
too,
got
actually.
options.
So
Okay,
yeah. So you do have options, and if you just Google Washtenaw prosecutor expungement, that'll show up. If you Google Attorney General expungement, that'll show up. So there's resources out there to walk people through this.
Okay, thank you. Also, shameless plug, very new meeting from Home of New Vision. It's called More Than a Number. And so if you want to meet with people who have been incarcerated, or you know somebody who and you're affected by their incarceration, we have a meeting every Tuesday in Ipsy. If you want to know more information, I have flyers. Also, Mario's son, yoga was very important to him. And we have a yoga class in his honor also that Mario started. That's on Wednesdays. If anybody's interested, I'll let you know more about that too.
Thank you. And I'll come right over there. So with that in mind, Eli, if you email me links, I'll not only put it in the next email blast, I'll publish it on our website. So where to go to ask for help, how to apply, not only in this county, but if you have statewide resource link, I'll put that.
And for folks, especially statewide, one of the best folks to get in contact with is Legal Services, both here in Washtenaw and statewide. And we've got flyers with their information at the table back there. So,
and when we get done with this question, before we get to the next question, you touched on it briefly, but I think it merits mentioning again that this has bipartisan support. This is not Washtenaw County liberal. This affects everybody. Okay. So just briefly, you shared a story with me and okay.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so my question is in regards to those predatory websites that take, the records from MDOC or the police stations and they put them on their website, the inmate offender search USA.com. Would those websites be required to take your profile down on them or that information, or do you have any advice to reach out to them, or what is the process for that?
Yeah, I really don't, unfortunately. I know the websites you're talking about, and there's been lawsuits around those, like the mugshots.com, everything like that. And the unfortunate truth is, at least the last time I checked into those, which admittedly has been a while, has been the courts have been saying, well, it's, First Amendment and you can do what you want with publicly available information. So,
yeah, it's crazy because I recently Googled my name and a really old charge came up. I was like, how did this random site even find that?
Yeah, I mean, so the one thing about expungement is they will be officially expunged, officially cleared from the state of Michigan's criminal history database. So to the extent sites are pulling from that, they shouldn't be able to do that anymore. But I can't make any guarantees about, you are correct in calling them predatory, about these predatory websites. And at least as far as I know, there haven't been successful challenges to that. Maybe it's something that can potentially be regulated, but the First Amendment is sort of an issue there. So I just want to be honest about it. I totally understand your frustration. I think it's horrible, but I don't want to,
Eli, did we answer? I was unable to attend in person. Would I be able to get access to the assistance available in person there tonight to look into my record? Would it be free of charge? The prosecutor table, we answered that, didn't we?
Well, and I see the answer in the chat about emailing our office, cieu@washtenaw.org. So we can do the same stuff we're doing today, or you can contact Legal Services directly. So even if you're not able to do it tonight, yeah, we can help you out. And so, yeah, the information in the chat, somebody put it in there, is great.
I shared with you a story of my personal friend of mine about Canada.
Yep.
He was restricted from going into Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you just answer that question there?
Yeah, no, criminal records can prevent people from entering Canada, from entering other countries. I can remember actually one of the very first people whose records we were able to help get cleared was somebody who had done something when they were a teenager and had family in Canada. They were Canadian, and for over a decade, they were precluded from visiting their family on holidays, on Christmas, on Thanksgiving. So yeah, this does hold people back. And like I said at the start, every single story for why somebody wants expungement is different, and that's certainly a big part of it.
Why don't you read? We've got something that came over here. It kind of addresses the red tape involved in doing this. Just read that briefly, Eli, and then it's kind of, how do we cut through the red tape?
Yeah,
I don't know that we can, but why don't you want to go ahead and tackle that one?
Yeah, so I'll
paraphrase.
It is a good question. It says,
and just paraphrase kind of what this individual is asking. There's a lot involved. Why punish people further?
Yep.
Kind of to your point.
Yep. So paraphrasing, why do we need all of this red tape? We are just forcing people to go through what seems like an unnecessary process for application-based expungement in particular. And this seems like this is a disincentive for people to clear their records. I agree with that. I agree there's too much red tape around application expungements. The good thing is that the automatic takes care of a lot of that, right? So that is good news. But look, I mentioned that Michigan has had an expungement law since the 1960s, right? And we dramatically expanded as a state the number of people who can apply for an expungement, which is great news. What we didn't do so much is like update the process, right? So when they expanded eligibility, they didn't really update the process, which is why you still got to go get the certified court records. And all that is from the 1960s era law. So I will say I entirely agree with this. I think that an 8-month waiting period is way too long. I would like to figure out ways to cut down on that red tape, because look, the truth of the matter is, I mean, your story is a perfect example. People are trying to get an expungement when they are applying for a job, right? And it shouldn't take almost a year on average to be able to actually facilitate that, because that's a whole nother year that maybe somebody is out of a job or doesn't get that opportunity to get a promotion. So I have talked to legislators about this. If folks want to share experiences about the red tape and how it's impacted them and how potentially it's disincentivized people from applying for expungement, I'd really encourage you to talk to your legislators about it. We've got some sympathetic legislators, at least here in Washtenaw County, to these issues. But at the end of the day, the process is what it is. I'm not, I'm going to be honest about what the process is. But I entirely agree that there's, I think, some changes that we can potentially make that will cut down on that waiting time and cut down on that red tape. So,
okay. So we'll go back to you. I just wanted to throw this in. Eli's not going to say this, but he comes to our meetings. He has come to our gigs at the Michigan Theater, and he won't kind of make it known that he's there, but I see him there. So I thank you for that.
Thank you, Mario. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here today. You're really our champion. I wanted to ask you, may it be possible to gather together a group of consultants to streamline that process? There's a group of us here in Ann Arbor that are known as consultants who have done that for Fortune 1,500 companies, including myself.
I honestly don't know. I'd love it if that worked. I mean, part of the process right now is really like things have to go up to the state, back down to the counties, right? And that's where a lot of the backlog happens. But yeah, I mean, I think it'd be great if there were ways other than legislation to streamline the process, and consultants that are expert in efficiency know how to do it. I think that would be great. So yeah.
I'm going to hand it over for another question, but I want to remind everybody we got pizza, we got Oreo cookies, Chips Ahoy, wafers. While we're going through questions, come on up and grab some food.
Hi, thank you for what you're doing. I heard you say two things. The first thing, actually, I just looked on the Michigan Department of Attorney General, the michigan.gov website, and with expungement assistance, there is, if you go to the bottom of the page, they list all of the expungement fairs around Michigan. So like there's one coming up on August 18th in Allegan, September 20th in Detroit, October 27th at Cooley Law School. There's also like a thing that you have to pay for, but you can use to find your record. But the question I had for you was, some of us may or may not have more than one DUI, and I heard you say that you can apply to get one expunged, or did you say the first expunged? Like if you had two, can you still get one of them expunged, or once you have two, are you limited from having the one?
When we were talking before, I was wondering the same thing. So thank you for asking that question. And I will give you my email address. You just gave a resource. If you send that to me, we'll get with Angie right there. And oh, you did. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. So I guess first I'll give a plug actually, because you were looking up the expungement fairs, and those are the ones that the AG is doing. The AG has been doing great work going across the state doing expungement fairs. We've got one October 28th that will be in Washtenaw County that our expungement coalition is doing. So save the date on that. We'll be pushing stuff out. Mario, I'll send you the flyer so you can distribute it for full service expungement. You get fingerprinting on site. You can get court records on site. It's really a great opportunity to get all that stuff together, so you don't have to go through all that process. It is the first one, right? So you can apply to get the first one taken off. I understand that for OWIs in particular, that doesn't do a lot to clear the record, because then you're going to have the OWI second or the OWI third, which is a felony, right? That's still on there, but that's the way the law is written. So, yeah, right.
So the question or the comment was, why don't you repeat her comment?
Right. So the question was about expunging drunk driving offense. And it is written in such a way that you can only expunge the first one, which means that, if you have a subsequent charge, like a second or a third, which a third becomes a felony, that's still going to be on there. So I understand, that may not get all the way there, but that's just the state of the law. It's the way the law is written.
Thank you, Mr. Prosecutor. I wanted to ask the question, piggybacking on the young lady. The felony, is that different than the charge? Well, if you only have one felony, would that felony automatically come off?
So for drunk driving in particular, or just generally?
The OUI.
Yeah. So no, drunk driving offenses do not qualify for automatic expungement. And if it's a felony drunk driving, like OWI third offense, then
it would be the first.
Okay, so
only one.
Okay, so I don't know the precise situation that you're referring to. If it's, that's why I'd encourage you to go to the table. But for automatic, no drunk driving offenses come off. And for application, first drunk driving does, but there can't have been any injury or death either as a result of that. So that might make it ineligible. I'm trying to think of the reasons that it would have been felony as the first, and yeah.
Right, that's what I thought as
right.
well.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
But he should still step over to the table and
yeah. Absolutely.
So, yeah, okay.
Alcoholics can recover.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're here in this room with people in recovery and folks that have been recovery for decades. So yeah, 100%.
Sure thing.
Hello, my name is Erin Gardner. And I was wondering, how would it work if you have like old charges that can possibly be eligible to come off, but then you have charges that couldn't? So how would that work?
So you mean if you exceeded the number that you were eligible to have come off, or if you got
No. So years ago,
Mhm.
I got in some trouble, and they're like 10, 11 years. All my things are misdemeanors. But then like 2 or 3 years ago, I caught 2 OWIs. So we know those can't come off. But what about the misdemeanors from like 11, 12 years ago? How does that work?
So I checked to see. I checked to see if those have been automatically expunged. So for the new ones, the waiting period is going to apply, and you can't have any open cases. But I checked to see how exactly that's played out with the computerized system that the state has. So I don't want to give a prediction.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I did. They're doing a great job. You get it in about a week.
Okay. All right. Awesome. We got a question over here.
Hi, my name is Mandy. Thank you for the information. I understand that we're talking about Michigan and that you do have statewide resources. Is there any resources that you can provide or advice for people like myself that have past offenses from other states? Or is it just best to go through the Attorney General website? Like, do you have any advice?
Yeah, it's really going to depend on whether that state has expungement laws. I mean, what other states? If I know off the top of my head, I can tell you.
Minnesota. So
Minnesota, I have no idea about. I'm sorry.
okay.
Yeah, like California, I know has some good ones. Utah, I know, but yeah, it's just going to be on a state by state basis. And honestly, I just don't know, and I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay. You know what the good thing is, Ellie? This is setting a record for a Washtenaw fan forum for questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Well, it's good. It's good. That's what I'm here for.
We got active, engaged participation.
Yeah, my name's Lester. I had a bunch of misdemeanors when I was younger that I checked to see if they're gonna get dropped. But I also had careless and reckless driving. This is back in the day. Can those be expunged?
Depending on the situation. Again, if it didn't cause injury or death, then it's possible. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And actually, excluding injury or death, that's kind of the perfect, not saying things are going to get taken off this person's record, but that's kind of what it was created for.
Right.
You know, long time ago. Look, none of us are perfect. And that's what these laws are intended to do, is to help move people along and get on with their lives. Okay.
Mm-hmm. The question is if your criminal stuff was in another county, do you have to jump through more hoops? The process is generally the same. I know legal services, Michigan Advocacy Program, they do work in Macomb County. So our partners are one of our primary partners with that actually represent folks, right? They do operate in Macomb County. I don't know how easy Macomb County makes it to get the certified copies of the court records, the fingerprinting, or anything like that. But the generalized process is statewide. It's the same. So, yeah.
So if you reach out to us, our corporate chapter is based in Macomb County. FAN was co-founded by a sobriety court judge who operated in Macomb County. I will try to short circuit, no guarantees, but if you email us and put your email and name. Okay. Okay. Okay, good. email us anyway, or you reach out, give you my personal email. I'm going to email Judge Davis and Dunya and see if they can just go directly to someone, much like what we're doing here now. Okay? Okay.
Hi. As far as out of county offenses, I have a DUI from 22 years ago. And am I able to minimize some of the costs by getting fingerprinting done here?
It's a good question.
I
I'm not trying to put Derek on the spot, but do you, okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah.
So, Angela, repeat that question. The question, repeat the question. Well, I know you. Just email me. What am I doing here? Just email me your question and I'll get with the right people to get you an answer. Okay. Do we have anyone else? We got people lined up at the resource table, which is great. We've got somebody with an out-of-state conviction. A lot of good questions here. I know that I'd be asking if I don't even want to go to that table. I don't know what I'm going to find if they put my name in there. So I think, do we have any more questions? Okay. Feel free, if you haven't already gone through the resource table, to do that. We've got this facility at 242 Church, and I want to thank the 242 Community Church for allowing us to use this facility. We used to be in the cavernous 600 plus seat auditorium, but this works just fine. And I want to thank, we've got representatives here from Home and New Vision, from Dawn Farm, and the good people there. So thank you for being here. And do we have any more questions on here? I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yes, we answered the Canada question. You can be restricted.
Yeah.
So even more reason to go through this process. But again, the message here is instead of saying that the trophy's worth the chase, how about the juice is worth the squeeze?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So nobody else? Okay. Brandon, it's after 8:00, but we can shut down. And I want to remind everybody of this. First, thank you for coming. Please fill out the survey. We really appreciate your feedback. We use it. Did anybody have a question here? No? Okay. Our next meeting is here on the second Monday in September. We're going to have representatives from SAMHSA, from the Office of Prevention and Recovery, and from the Office of Innovation. Those are two newly formed departments within SAMHSA, and they're going to be doing the same thing that Eli did, which is to communicate resources that they have at the federal level that families, friends, and of people in recovery, as well as people in recovery, can access to help work through the red tape. And one of the speakers from SAMHSA is on the advisory board at Washtenaw County. His name is David Awadala, and he's a great guy. He'll be flying in from, I'm not sure where David is living, but I know SAMHSA is based out of Washington, D.C. They're taking the time to come here, share their resources, and help spread the word in the recovery community. So come and learn more about all that SAMHSA has to offer. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. We've got flyers on the table for that next meeting. Did we remember to put a QR code on that? Okay. So there's a QR code on that. Ellie, you're a good man.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yep. So that's it. Thank you for coming. Hopefully we'll see all of you next month. Second Monday of the month.